Westy here, Director of Drama with Glendon Performing Arts. Today, in honor of the month of romance, I'm going to be talking to you about how to act or get more comfortable acting intimate scenes. Now, what I mean by intimate are those scenes that are kind of romantic, where your character is supposed to be very close to the other character. You make eye contact, you interested in the other person. Maybe there's some physical touch involved. Or even just like having a dance partner in a scene, just needing to touch someone while you dance. These kinds of things can be really awkward for us. Now, I could rant for hours about society and our weird preoccupations when it comes to bodies and physical touch, and how I think really we need to work on demystifying the human body and physical contact and making physical contact between friends and stuff a lot more normal. But anyways, that is totally besides the point. My point today is if you do have to make prolonged eye contact or touch someone or be intimate with someone in a scene, how can you go about doing that in a way that will make you more comfortable and less likely to burst out laughing in the middle of it or things like that? So, first things first, what I want to say is boundaries. Never, ever, ever do things that make you feel bad. If it makes you feel bad, you shouldn't be doing it. Seriously. Like, whether it's a director asking you to do it or something your scene partner is trying to do with a scene that you don't quite like, say no. Seriously. What you want and how you feel is way more important than any scene in anything you're acting in. So if somebody touches you somewhere where you don't like, or if you feel like the person you're doing a scene with is weird in some way, or if the director asks you to step beyond what you're comfortable doing, say no, you don't have to do anything. And if you don't ever want to act in intimate roles, you don't ever have to. Seriously, it's not simple, but it is something that we all need to get more comfortable with, stating our boundaries and actually pushing forward and making sure other people understand our boundaries and aren't going to cross them. Now, if you've decided that you are comfortable doing a scene and you've read the script and you're more or less comfortable with what it says, or think you can get comfortable with what it says, the first step from there is going to be to start getting to know your scene partner. The more you trust the person, the easier it's going to be able to be intimate with them in a scene. The more natural it's going to feel to be able to look them in the eye or kiss them, or anything like that. Now, there's a whole bunch of different exercises you can use to try to start getting to know your scene partner. One of the most basic ones that directors will often use to form trust between all members of the cast is getting everyone to line up facing another person. You then spend 3 minutes or 5 minutes or however long staring into that person's eyes. And you stare at them silently for that amount of time. If you start laughing, recenter yourself and come back to it and stare each other in the eyes, and then at the end of it, you pay the other person a compliment about something that you noticed while you were looking at them. This kind of thing almost immediately is going to start to build a bridge of trust between you and the other person, because looking into someone else's eyes is such an intimate thing for us in this society that we live in, where that kind of eye contact, prolonged, it makes us feel really seen in a way that we aren't often seen, and it can be very intimidating. But the more you do it with a person and the more you realize that this person isn't judging you during it, the more comfortable you're going to feel with that person. And of course, there's also a lot of other ways you should be getting to know your scene partner, just talking to them, just figuring out how they act, how they work, participating in little like warm-up exercises and things together, just to learn kind of how they're going to go about the scene, how you're going to go about the scene, and establishing a bridge of trust, knowing what each other's boundaries are. This also comes to when you're talking about the actual scene itself. You need to be able to have mature and professional conversations both with your scene partner and with the director of the show or scene that you're in. These mature and professional conversations should use actual terminology. If you're talking about touching somebody's breast, you can say, I would like to touch your breast here, or perhaps you could touch my breast in this scene, that kind of thing, to be able to have these actual full conversations. And you also need to agree well in advance of trying to do a scene for the first time, what sorts of areas of touch you're comfortable with, if you're going to be comfortable kissing them or not. You need to establish well in advance exactly what it is that you're okay with and that they're okay with you doing as well. And the only way we can establish that is to actually have these conversations. Before doing anything in a scene, before touching someone in any way in a scene, even if it's just a gentle little pat on the shoulder, you need to make sure they're going to be okay with it. And they need to make sure you're going to be okay with it. When it comes to these scenes, another really good way to try to get comfortable with what's going on is to work up to it. You should have a very solid idea of what exactly it is you're going to need to do in that scene. Essentially, you should have blocked every single aspect of physical touch and the emotional journeys that your characters are going through in that scene. And then during rehearsal, you can work up to actually doing that. So perhaps the first time you do a scene, you do it without any touch at all. Then the next time you do a scene, you feel it out and decide, okay, now we can add the time when we hold hands or touch each other's arms or whatever. And then the next time you do it, okay, I'm going to touch your face. Okay, I'm going to put a hand on your chest. That sort of thing until you work up to do all of the things that you and the director would like to have blocked into that scene. Again, the entire time, make sure you're always checking in and respecting any boundaries or any time that either you or your partner are getting at all uncomfortable. A really good way to be able to check in and make sure that everyone's comfortable the whole time is to agree to have a timeout option during rehearsals. If during rehearsal, while you're repeating a scene or just doing it for the first time or anything like that, one of you gets uncomfortable, there should always be an option agreed upon in advance to say, hey, can we throw a pause on this? I need to step back. We need to laugh it out. We need to just do a little shakedown and feel better about it, and then we can get back into it. It's a lot easier to put yourself into these situations if you know you always have the option of saying, and backing out of it. And then by the time it comes to the actual show, you'll have practiced it enough times, you'll be very comfortable with it. And again, that's one of the things that goes into making things comfortable, is doing it over and over and over. But only, as always, do what makes you comfortable. If you've rehearsed the scene a few times and the director wants you to run it again, but you're really not feeling it anymore, say as much. Rehearse different scenes, come back to that scene later, come back to that scene the next rehearsal, anything like that. Another really big key to being able to act these intimate scenes is to be open, but not vulnerable. There is a very slight difference between those two ideas for me. When we're open, we're receptive, clear, present in the moment, and in a state where we're ready to do what needs to be done for the scene. It's where we're ready to have these conversations in advance and be able to enact them and put them into the scene itself. Being vulnerable is the second that you're pushed into a situation where you're not in control of what's happening, where your autonomy has been taken and things are being done to you rather than with you. And the second it steps into that area of things being done to you, that's when you need to be able to say, okay, time out, let's step back, let's try this again. Now, there's two different kinds of discomfort that can come from these sorts of scenes. One of them is genuine, like, I'm nervous about this, I feel judged, that kind of discomfort. And then there's the other kind where every single time you and your partner try, you just start laughing. Trust me, it happens a lot. Especially with high school students who are told to dance with each other in a scene, or high school students who are told to hold hands in a scene. They start giggling, and it does not stop. That kind of thing is perfectly natural. The giggling is just an expression of doing something that you're not very used to. And when trying to deal with this like more giggly nature of discomfort, it's still following all of this, ask permission, know your boundaries, that sort of thing. But it's going to be a lot more of that aspect of trying to get to know the other person and trying to get just more aware of why you yourself aren't comfortable with it, what about it is making you laugh, and what you can do to kind of combat that, and then working on it together with your scene partner, rehearsing it over and over, that sort of thing, because the more you rehearse it, the more comfortable you're going to feel with it. And if you've got a really bad case of the giggles because of it, take a break, laugh it out. Yeah, it's gonna feel a little silly, but you can come back to it again. And when you get into the mindset of your character and really into the scene in a professional way, you'll find it easier and easier to be able to do these intimate scenes where you need to look into someone else's eyes, hold their hand, maybe give them a kiss. It's the whole thing. No matter what kind of discomfort you're feeling or anything like that, it's all a balancing act that is built on a foundation of communication. Communication is key, not just in acting, but in everything we do in life. If we communicate with the people around us, things are just going to work out a lot better for everyone. Anyways, thank you for watching today. A nice short little sweet video for Valentine's month. I hope you had a really good Valentine's Day. I hope to see you come on out to our next live session. We'll be playing some games, doing some dances, singing some songs, all of that. In general, I just hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.